My wife stood in our marriage counselor's office and blamed the counselor for her affair out loud to the woman's face. Session 9. She said if the counseling had worked, she would never have needed someone else. She framed it as a hypothetical. I heard a threat, not a confession. 2 weeks later, I found out the hypothetical drove a gray pickup. That was the day I understood I was not in a marriage anymore. The only question left was whose fault all of it was going to be. By the end of this story, a judge in Alabama listens to my wife spread the blame for her own cheating 6 different ways. Then he writes one sentence into the divorce decree that none of them saw coming. Stay for the last 5 minutes. Because the thing that ended her alimony was not me, not the judge, and not the lawyer she burned through. It was her. 13 years married, 1 daughter, 19, away at school on a softball scholarship. We married when she was 6. I am the one who taught her to throw. My wife sold houses, and she was good at it. Top producer plaque 3 years running. Her face on bus benches along 2 state routes. Showings at 7 at night. Open houses on the weekend. Lockbox codes. Staging appointments. Closings that ran late. For 13 years, I never once checked the math on any of it. The catch was not clever, and I want to be honest about that up front. There was no app, no hidden receipt, no detective work. I came home at 1:40 on a workday with a fever of 102, and there was a gray pickup in my driveway. A magnetic sign on the door said, "Polk Home Inspections." We were not selling our house. I did not go inside. I stayed in the truck at the curb with the heater running and my teeth chattering. I watched the front door of my house for 25 minutes. At 2:05, the door opened, and a man in a Polk Home Inspections polo came out, adjusting his belt. My wife came out behind him in the robe her mother gave her and kissed him against the tailgate. I honked. One long honk. I wanted to see both faces at the same time, and I did. The inspector left in a hurry, tires chirping at the stop sign. My wife stood in the driveway in February in a robe, looked at my truck, and called across the yard. This is what happens when you stop paying attention to me. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "It's not what it looks like." This is what happens. Hold on to that sentence. She spent the next 9 months saying versions of it to everyone in the state with a pulse. I drove to urgent care, tested positive for the flu, and slept that night at my brother's place. I never spent another night in that house. The cheating turned out to be 7 months old, and the shape of it explained a lot of things I had stopped noticing. The inspector worked half her listings. Buyers need inspections before closing, and my wife recommended him to every single one. He got the job, and twice a week his truck got 45 minutes in whatever empty listing had a lockbox. Empty houses all over the county, with legitimate business reasons for both of their cars to be parked outside. The man had been inside more of her listings than her broker. Her phone stayed locked the whole marriage, and I never touched it. I did not need to. My brother drove me back once, 10 days later, for clothes and my tools. The inspector's business card was on my nightstand in my bedroom, his cell number handwritten on the back. I photographed it where it sat and took nothing but clothes and tools. The audacity did half my lawyer's work for him. The other half came by subpoena. Polk Home Inspections kept meticulous records, which is the funny part. Every real inspection ends 2 ways, a written report and an invoice to a buyer. My attorney subpoenaed his appointment book and lined it up against her showing calendar. 19 appointments matched her empty listings, 45 minutes at a time. 19 appointments that ended in no report and no invoice to anyone. An inspector with no paperwork is not inspecting anything. The matrix went in a binder with tabs. Exhibit 12. I hired that lawyer the same week. A calm man in his 50s, office above a title company, pictures of his grandkids on the desk instead of golf trophies. He listened to the driveway story without writing a single word. Then he asked one question: will she take responsibility or will she fight the story itself? I told him about the counseling first because it mattered later. 9 sessions, my idea, paid up front. At session 4, the counselor gave us each one assignment. Mine was to block out 2 Saturdays a month. No phone, no yard work. I did it, and I can prove it, because the counselor had us initial each other's homework. Hers was to end whatever was, quote, competing with the marriage. She initialed mine. She never brought hers back. Session 9 was the blame speech, and we never went to session 10. Then came the driveway and the sentence in the yard. He nodded and wrote one word on a legal pad, and I made it out upside down. Contested. Alabama lets you file for divorce on adultery, not code words, the actual word on the actual paperwork. We filed on it in March. Her answer came back through her first lawyer 3 weeks later. It denied everything, and it counterclaimed against me for abandonment. Abandonment. I left after the driveway with a fever in the clothes I was wearing. My attorney went through her answer twice, slid it across the desk, and gave me the best advice I got that year. Let her keep talking. So we did. We let her talk for 9 months. The first thing the talking cost her was the temporary orders hearing, 30 minutes on a March morning. She showed up late and told the judge the causeway traffic was, quote, impossible. Then she argued she needed exclusive use of the house and $3,000 a month in temporary support. The judge gave her the house, gave her $1,100, and gave me the first sign he already had her number. The counselor was blame number 1. I was blame number 2, the abandonment. Number 3 was my mother. At the first settlement conference, my wife announced that my mother had poisoned the marriage for a decade. No woman could compete with that family, she said. The affair was a symptom. My mother has a bad hip and a weekly Bible study, and she watched our daughter every summer for free. Blame number 4 was our daughter's travel softball schedule. She said it in a conference room with both attorneys and a paralegal present. All those tournaments. We never had a weekend. What did anyone expect? Her own lawyer called for a break after that one. 10 days later, her lawyer filed a motion to withdraw from the case, and the motion said more than motions usually say. The client had rejected counsel's written settlement recommendation. The client had accused counsel of working for the other side. Reason listed: irretrievable breakdown of the attorney-client relationship. Lawyer number 1, gone. That made him blame number 5. Lawyer number 2 came off a billboard 2 exits up the interstate, and to her credit, she lasted longer. She talked my wife into mediation. Court ordered, half a day, a retired judge as the mediator. I came with a folder and a typed offer. Sell the house and split it. Her retirement stays hers. Mine stays mine. A fair number on the truck, and even split on the furniture. Each side covers its legal bills. My attorney called it the cleanest offer he had drafted in 5 years. My wife rejected it in 40 minutes. Not countered, rejected. She told the mediator the offer was an insult. She had built my whole life, she said. She deserved the house, the equity and alimony that matched her contribution. The mediator was a soft-spoken man who had heard it all 100 times. He asked her one quiet question. Ma'am, what contribution offsets the adultery your husband can prove? I was 6 feet away when she gave her answer. I will never need anyone's notes to remember it. The affair was a response to neglect, and she should not be financially punished for my failures as a husband. Blame number 6. The mediation ended with no deal, and the mediator's bill came to $1,200. The meter. I need to tell you about the meter because it decided more than the trial did. Every performance she gave was billable. Every rejected offer, every fired professional, every hearing that had to be reset. 2 lawyers' meters running at once. My attorney kept a log from the first week, date, event, our fees, and a 1-line note. When her first lawyer withdrew, the log line said, delay, 60 days, client cost $2,100, cause hers. When mediation collapsed, the line said, half day, $1,900, offer rejected without counter. He named the file The Meter in capital letters, and I did not understand why he was smiling about it until the end. Discovery was its own circus, and I will keep it short. We asked for her commission records, standard in any divorce with a self-employed spouse. She objected. We asked again. She produced 4 months of a 7-year career. The judge ordered full production and made the order say within 14 days. On day 13, 9 boxes of unsorted paper arrived at my attorney's office, invoices mixed with junk mail. The paralegal who sorted it billed 13 hours, and the log got another line. Cause, hers. While all of that burned, I did exactly 2 things and nothing else. I paid the temporary support the court set on the 1st of every month by bank transfer, never late by even a day, and I kept my mouth shut. No texts, no calls, no drive-bys, no comment when her sister posted things online with my name spelled right and the facts spelled wrong. Clean hands and a paper trail. That was the whole strategy. Our daughter came home twice that spring, and both times her mother scheduled a showing. She sat in my brother's kitchen eating pancakes and asked me why Mom kept telling people the softball thing. Word had traveled. It always does. I told her the divorce was between her mother and me, and none of it was hers to carry. She was quiet for a second, and then she said something I did not coach and have never forgotten. Dad, I was at the tournaments. Where was she? I changed the subject on purpose, and we talked about her batting average. The trial came in October and took 1 day because there was not much left to try. The inspector was subpoenaed and did not fight it. He showed up in a gray suit and answered questions for 12 minutes. He confirmed the 7 months. He confirmed the empty listings. He confirmed the business card with his cell number on the back. He left without once looking at her, and that told the courtroom plenty. Her lawyer cross-examined me for half an hour and got nothing because there was nothing. My phone records were an exhibit. My bank transfers were an exhibit. 7 on-time support payments in a neat little column. The last question her lawyer asked me was whether I had tried to save the marriage. I said, 9 sessions. The counselor is on your witness list. Ask her who quit. They did not call the counselor. Before her testimony, there was one exhibit that decided the alimony before she said a word. Her own tax returns, subpoenaed from her accountant. Top producer means top producer. She out-earned me in 2 of the last 4 years, and it was not close in one of them. Her lawyer tried to frame the affair year as a down year, an aberration. The judge asked whose choices caused the down year. That question got an objection instead of an answer, and everybody in that courtroom knew why. She had a license, a book of clients, and her face on 2 bus routes. Nobody was buying helpless. A photograph of the plaque on our mantle, 3 Christmases deep in our own family pictures, became my Exhibit 14. Then my wife testified for 2 hours, and I will summarize it honestly. Nobody in that courtroom escaped fault, except the woman testifying. The counseling had failed her. I worked too much. My mother interfered. The softball schedule isolated her. Her first lawyer betrayed her. The mediation was rigged. Her word rigged about a retired judge with 40 years in. My attorney objected to none of it. He told me afterward, "You never interrupt a confession." When she finally stepped down, the judge asked her one question directly. He was a heavy-set man who had said maybe 40 words all day. Ma'am, is there anyone in this story whose choices you are responsible for? She said, everyone keeps asking versions of that question. He said, yes, ma'am, we do. The ruling came 3 weeks later in writing. My attorney called me and I pulled over into a gas station lot to take it. On the divorce, granted. On the ground, adultery, hers, named on the first page. On the property, straight down the middle, almost exactly the offer she had rejected at mediation. She spent 2 retainers to end up at my first folder. On the alimony, the judge did not do what she had promised everyone he would do. He did not hand her the punishment number she demanded in mediation. He also did not zero her out, and my attorney had prepared me for that, because 13 years is 13 years, even in a fault state. 24 months of rehabilitative alimony, $1,400 a month, 2 years to get resettled and rebuild her book of business. Then came the 2 paragraphs that made it a different kind of ruling. The first found that a substantial portion of the litigation costs resulted from one party's refusal to engage in good faith. It cited the withdrawal motion, the collapse of court-ordered mediation without a counteroffer, and the discovery order by docket number, the meter file, quoted in a court order. She was ordered to pay $9,600 of my attorney's fees. She paid for the circus she ran, every dollar of it. The second paragraph was 1 sentence, and I asked my attorney to read it twice. The court notes that periodic alimony in this state terminates upon the recipient's cohabitation, and the recipient, it said, is advised accordingly. I asked him if judges always include that line. He said no. He wrote that one because he listened to her for 2 hours. That sentence just sat there in the decree, waiting on her. The divorce was final in the spring. Once the house sold and the decree was entered, she kept her retirement, her half of the house money, 24 months of support, and a fee bill. I kept my half, my truck, and a quiet apartment near the water where nobody blamed me for anything before 8 a.m. Our daughter came home the weekend after the decree and asked to read it. She is 20 now, and she reads contracts for fun, which she did not get from her mother. She got to the fee paragraph, put it down, and did the math out loud. $9,600. That is 4 years of my tournament fees, Dad. Then she got to the ground on page 1, the actual word, and she did not say anything at all for a while. Her mother texted her twice that month about, quote, hearing both sides. She wrote back 1 line, I have read the decree. The check started in May. First of the month, bank transfer, memo line, support. I sent 4 before my brother called, and I kept sending them while we built the file. Clean hands to the last gavel. In September, my brother called me from a job site. He lays flooring. He was measuring a rental 2 blocks off the bay. The landlord walked him through the building, unit by unit, bragging about full occupancy. Unit 4, the landlord said. New couple, August. She sells real estate. He does inspections. My brother stepped over the tax strips and looked out the window at the parking lot. A gray pickup sat below. Polk Home Inspections on the door. He called me from the stairwell. I did not call her. I have not called her since the driveway, and I was not going to start for this. I called my attorney. My attorney hired a process server with a camera, and then we did the hardest thing in this entire story. Nothing. For 6 weeks, absolutely nothing. The file grew on its own. 2 names on the mailbox, photographed. His truck in the same numbered spot, morning after morning, time stamped. Her staging bins stacked on the patio next to his ladder. In late October, a pumpkin on the doorstep in the server's photos, and his ladder chained next to her staging bins. Couples split bills. Roommates do not split a king bed, and the landlord had walked my brother right past one, tape measure in hand. You can hide an affair. You cannot hide a household. In November, we filed the petition. termination of periodic alimony based on cohabitation. The subpoenas went out the next week and came back fast. The lease with both names on it and the power bill in his name since August. Her response to the court was the purest version of her I ever read, and I have read it more times than I should admit. She did not deny living with him. She could not. She argued the alimony should continue because the cohabitation was a direct result of the financial hardship caused by the divorce. Let me read that to you again. She moved in with the man from my driveway and blamed the divorce for the rent. Blame number 7, aimed at a court order filed with the same court that ordered it. The hearing took 11 minutes, 1 minute less than the inspector's entire trial testimony. Same courtroom, same heavyset judge. He looked at the lease, the photos, the mailbox, and then at her. Alimony terminated, effective the 1st of the month. 17 months of checks she never got to collect because she could not wait 2 years to move him in. And then the last thing, the part I still think about. He looked at her third attorney and said, "Counsel, for the record, the court did advise." The sentence from the decree. He wrote it knowing exactly who he was writing it for. On the courthouse steps, she spoke to me for the first time in months. She started with the old sentence, rebuilt with new parts. "This," she said, "is what happens when a technicality gets weaponized." A technicality. The statute is 50 years old, and it was quoted in her own decree in a paragraph addressed to her. I did not answer. There was nothing left to argue. I drove to the water and called my daughter about her season opener. She bats third now. Her team plays more weekends than the schedule her mother testified about, and I have not missed one since fall ball. Her sister called my brother in December, fishing, asking whether I had, quote, moved on or moved up. My brother said I was at her team's winter camp in Georgia, and the call ended fast. Last month, he laid new floors in Unit 4, hired by the landlord. He says the place smells like scented candles and resentment. The inspector's truck has a new magnet on the door, bigger letters. She has him full-time now, and she knows exactly what he does all day in other people's empty houses. No alimony, no house, a fee bill for $9,600 with her name on it, and a decree on file in Alabama where a judge answered her favorite sentence better than I ever could. The counselor, my mother, a softball schedule, a lawyer who quit on her, a rigged mediation, a 50-year-old statute. Everyone in the state got blamed except the one person the judge kept looking at. See you in the next one.